Hey guys, welcome to today's video on this will help you to understand how things work. I feel like this is one of those questions like why am I here? Like very philosophical, right? But obviously I talk about all things relating to you having energy. So this is no different. We're obviously going to be looking at your well-being and giving you some insights into what things we may not have thought about. So I'm just going to flow with today's topic and just see what comes up from my experience and insights and the work that I do in the Health Concierge. And if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Elika. I'm an energy optimization coach and trusted advisor for business leaders and entrepreneurs who want to have more energy so they can have a greater impact in the world. So if you've not subscribed already, what are you doing? Subscribe. This is a topic that you definitely need to know more about. So let's go into this. So I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is I think we need to understand how our human physical body has been designed in order for our survival. And there are many avenues of this, but I just want to think about it in the lens of what takes your energy away from you and therefore stops you from having this harmony and this peace and this inner joy that we really strive for. So I always think about things from evolutionary biology and look at things that we've done for thousands and thousands of years with deep understanding of quantum physics and also just looking at ancient civilizations and things that are unexplained sometimes in science, but that are things that we did for thousands of years to thrive. And one of those is considering the fact that as a mammal, we are unlike other mammals. As human babies, we're extremely delicate, more than you could ever imagine. So if you look at a calf, within minutes of it walking, of it being born, it's walking. And you could say this for so many other mammals. So that shows you that that calf can survive without its parents. A human baby is so delicate. I mean, if a baby was born and everybody was to leave it, wherever it's born, in the hospital, at home, and nobody was to come to it, it wouldn't survive. So what that tells you is, firstly, we're social creatures. So we are born for survival by being with other humans. But also that this mammal that we are is so precious as a baby. And therefore, no surprise, we have been designed in a way that allows us to survive. And one of those things is, in those first 7 years, our brain is in a brainwave state called theta, which is a bit like a sponge. We absorb everything that we see, feel, and experience in our environment. And I believe that in that moment that we were born, in that carnation moment, the soul, our identity is formed, and it has a purpose of what it's here to do. We talk a lot about that in human design. So if you haven't watched any of my human design videos, look into that. And in order to survive in this human physical body, it still needs to learn some things, right? It needs to be able to get out in the world and survive. If not, the intention of what you're here to do can never be fulfilled because you've got to stay alive to do that. And so if you think about those early years, those first 7 years, I like to see our brain, therefore, as the hardware of a computer, which if you can imagine my computer, which is actually my phone that's recording this right now, what I see of it is actually just the hardware. That's only 5%. Every single thing that runs it, all the apps that I have downloaded, the lighting that I use, everything that's making this run effectively right now is the software. And when we study psychology, we already know from that 95% of our actions come from our subconscious. But what you see is that conscious. So in that subconscious world, these softwares have been put into our hardware, this 95%. And those programs come from our first guardians, which typically is our parents, maybe our grandparents, maybe in some places it'd be a nanny or a helper. Then, your teachers, once you go into the education system, then your religion, your community, later on, your friendships, and then your intimate partners. These all are forming various layers that come on top of that incarnation of you when you were born. And these are all softwares that have been installed in you that you're running. And for For so many of us, we go through those earlier years being conditioned. Through 7 to 14, we tend to decide with the software that we've got how to run it. So for example, if I was a child and I was walked to school a certain route, I might go, no, I'm going to cross over the road. Mom, I want to go that way. I want to go that way. And I already have the software, which is how to walk maybe on a path that I need to cross roads, I need to check before I cross. But now I've already made a decision with that software that I'm going to walk a different path on the way to school. So this is how we slowly start to form our own identity on the software that we've got. And then for life then, it's really about living out that software. And in living out that software, we start asking for more software in some cases consciously, like going to education, right? Going to college and maybe university and choosing subjects. So we're specifically asking for what software we want. And other times we're being influenced by our environment, the people around us, and therefore software is sometimes being installed without realizing. But what happens is we get to a stage where we start seeing patterns, and some behaviors, some things that we do, we just feel that it no longer serves us. It's no longer helping us to thrive. And I find that accumulation of that breaking point is what we used to refer to as the midlife crisis, which used to happen for people in their 40s. Guys would go out and get a sports car, younger girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. But I see that happening earlier and earlier as people no longer strive for the materialistic things that never brought us inner peace, but also that connection that happens from us being a world that's more globally connected through the internet and information being able to transfer more easily through platforms like this and other social media platforms. So we are becoming aware of what is available to us, and we are getting to decide how we want to create our life. And through that, we're starting to see the things that get in our way of that. Our own behaviors, our own environment, our partnerships, our health and well-being, the foods that we eat, all of those things start to be brought to our awareness. And so then we start to make a conscious decision to reprogram our subconscious. And that's why I can't speak enough about inner work, because that allows you to do that reprogramming to realign with what you actually came here to do. And so then at this kind of no longer midlife crisis point, but this crossroads, we start to reassess those things that are important to us. And those reassessments are the things that are in our lives that are taking energy away from us. The foods that we eat, the lack of movement that we get, and adventure and geographical freedom from certain types of jobs or certain types of restrictions that we have, our relationships with our friends, with our family, with our intimate partners, and whether they feel like vampires or whether they bring us more joy, create more harmony in our life, provide more emotional support. We start looking at our anxiety and our mental well-being and noticing our fears and the things that we're drawn to versus our fears that block us from going towards those things. We start looking at all of the environments that we spend the time in and noticing how we feel in those environments. Do they provide peace and harmony like nature does? Do they feel restrictive? Are they toxic? Right? We start looking at things like our sleep and what prevents us from having deep restorative rest, from the thing that allows us to really recharge our battery. So you can see that in this crossroads, we start really assessing these energy drainers in our life. And that's where we really start to, with guidance and support, a good coach, a good support system, we get to really evaluate what are our values, the things that make us tick, the things that create harmony in our inner world as well as our outer world. And we start moving towards those. And as we move towards those, we start having a feeling of inner peace. And, in human design, that movement towards that is really noticing in our energy body which you can see from your visual body graph, where you're absorbing energy from others, and really how you go back to that more authentic version of yourself. And then how you realign with that North Star, which is that purpose, that reason why you're here, that direction of what your soul came here to fulfill. And we start putting in place decisions that allow us to realign to that. And so in human design, we obviously have our unique way there to make decisions. And that really allows us to make decisions that are more in alignment to our authentic self. And then we feel, and again in human design, we have our own version of what our brain is that makes decision, but we also have this inner authority, this part of us that really guides us to what feels good for us. And so the more and more we experience those higher states of frequencies, energy frequencies, right? Remember, they can all be measured on a frequency chart. We'll see those low frequencies like grief and anger, and then frustration somewhere here. And then those higher frequencies like acceptance, and then happiness and joy and peace. And then obviously the top would be enlightenment. And the more we experience those higher frequencies, the more we want to stay in those higher frequencies. So we start noticing what are those things that are keeping us in those frequencies. And we start moving towards or doing more of those, and hopefully clearing out those things that don't do that. And in doing that, that's where we get to master being in those higher frequencies for longer periods of time. And when you do fluctuate, because we're human, having a human experience, when you do fluctuate and go into those lower frequencies, you're able to bounce back to those higher frequencies faster, which is essentially what I experience in my day-to-day living right now. Is this deep acceptance of whatever is happening for me, not to me. So I'm not a victim in my own life. And what are those things that I can tell so clearly bring me into those higher states, and those things that drain my energy and bring me back into those lower frequencies. And then how I bounce back, that period, that ability to bounce back is so much more ease and flow than it used to be. I used to go down and then couldn't get myself out, and then of course burn out. And so when you're in those higher states, that's when you start to notice that your energy is more in overflow. And in that overflow, your creativity comes, all these ideas come, and not just the ideas come, but you're like overwhelmed. You're connecting the dots between the ideas and what you're supposed to do with them. People start to come into your lives that have the thing that you need to be able to bring those ideas into fruition, so that you can start living a more intentional life, more fulfilled life. And most of all, that overflow allows you to give a greater impact to others and your environment. And you start seeing how you create harmony in your environment and with the people that you surround yourself with. And that is the experience of being in energy overflow. And hopefully from that, I've explained this is the thing that is so important, that will make things work for you. This is what is behind all of what we are doing that is not allowing things to work in the way that things are supposed to work. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and there are so many areas that this could spiral off into, and I would love to hear what insights it brought up to for you. So please leave me a comment below and let me know what questions, what insights did this bring for you. And if you liked this video and you thought it brought value, please hit the like button so I can create that impact to others that are on that journey of raising their energetic frequency, so that they can be of more impact to everybody else. And as I said before, do subscribe so you can stay on top of more of my energy tips. Take care.